Hi, welcome to Raw TV, Real and Willing Television. I'm Jacob Kelly.
And I'm Rebecca Vargas. And you know, we had Rachael Lampa on our show last week, and now we're doing a little part 2. She's coming back on the show. She sang that song Blessed. Wasn't it incredible?
That was a good song.
It was really good.
Such a wonderful song.
I used to sing that song from competitions,
You
fine
did?
arts. You know, like the AG has the fine arts competition. Well, I sang that song, but listen to how bad this was, guys. This is really, really embarrassing and really bad. So you know how there's always that one competitor you have, that one person that you know you have to beat out every time in whatever competition you're in? Okay, so I knew, you know, she was singing right before me. We're in this little room. She sings right before me, and her track goes on. And it's Blessed. And I was like, oh my gosh, and that's what I was gonna sing. I had it down. I'm like, that's what I'm gonna sing, and I'm going up right after her. I thought I was going to die. It was terrible, and I was like, okay, well, I gotta do it. So
How far did you get in the competition then?
I beat her.
You did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did. But I don't know. I was freaking out, but I was like, I have to do it. But that song just brought back so many memories. It was really good. It was.
I felt like when I saw Fine Arts, I felt like a lot of the songs were the same. So.
Yeah, a lot of us, because they pick the hit songs of that thing and they just sing it. But just my luck, you know.
Anyway, something that I have to say that I've been telling everyone, I've been waiting 3 weeks for this to come in. My iPhone 4S came in.
Whatever. I still have the 3G.
Oh yeah, you still have the 3. See, I had the 3GS.
Go ahead, show off with Siri. Go ahead.
I will.
Go ahead.
Do you guys know what Siri is? You can talk to her. I call her Jarvis. Like, anyway. Here, I'll show you. I'll show you what Siri is.
Ask her something ridiculous.
Okay.
Let's see what she says.
Siri, what does a platypus look like?
Okay, here you go.
Oh my goodness! Look at that picture of the platypus.
Oh, they give you a picture?
They gave me a picture.
Oh, put that there so that they could see it.
Can you see that?
I don't know if they can see it.
A picture of a platypus.
I don't know. That's good.
This one right here?
Something ridiculous?
That's awesome.
You know, talking about that though, have you gotten the new app Pinterest? Anybody in here do Pinterest?
Goodness.
That's right. I am obsessed with it. Like, it's addicting. It's kind of like Tumblr. You post pictures from everywhere. You need to get it.
I've yet to even look at what Pinterest was. Everyone's been talking about it, and I have no idea what it is.
Well, my roommate got me into it. You know, I was just looking at the pictures and stuff. There's photography, there's design, home decor, women's clothing, like everything. You get so addicted to it. And then I'm like, okay, I need to make an account because how am I gonna? I need to remember all these pictures. You know,
really?
So I made an account, and you can just repin. What you do is like repin the pictures, and they go on your board. It's really fun. I don't think guys like it that much though.
I like Tumblr, so maybe I might like Pinterest. And I love Instagram. I've been like falling really in love with Instagram.
Aww.
Sorry, it's like.
I do like Instagram. There you go. Those are the top apps you need to get then.
That's absolutely.
Instagram.
I have the Tumblr app, but the Tumblr app doesn't really work for me too much.
Gotcha.
But then have you had their Everyday app? Have you heard of that one?
No, what's that?
Everyday app is you take a picture of yourself every day and it lines up your face, your eyes, and your mouth. So every single day, it's like you can see the transition of the scenes behind you. So your face stay the same, but everything goes different behind you.
That.
Like, yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's awesome. I love
downloading
that app so much. You should definitely get it.
Over. That's awesome. Okay, any other ones I need to know about?
I got this. Let me see. I just got a different app. What app?
Everyday app. Man, I never heard of that. I love that. It can work on the 3GS, right? Because I'm not cool enough to get the 4 yet.
No, you can get the. No, I'm pretty sure you can get it.
Okay, well, never mind. We'll be right back.
You have spoken in the sunset, and you have whispered words of comfort in the wind, and you know everything about me. Before my life began, you held me in your hand, and you have walked these roads before me, and you have known the pain a broken heart can bear. Now won't you help me now to trust you every single day? I'll follow in your way. I live for you, I live for you. When I think of all your love has done for me, I live for you. I'm never looking back to what life used to be. I live for you. Everything I ever thought was mine, I give it all away to have you in my life. Oh, I see you in the crystal water, and I have felt you in the dark of my despair. But you have shown a love unfailing, yeah. A river running deep that's welling up in me. I live for you, I live for you. When I think of all your love is done for me, I live for you. I'm never looking back to what life used to be. I live for you, and everything I ever thought was mine, I give it all away to have you in my life. I know it's gonna take a sacrifice. I wanna see the world through your eyes. I'll live for you the rest of my life. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, I live for you, I live for you. When I think of all your love is done for me, I live for you. I'm never looking back to what life used to be. I live for you, and everything I ever thought was mine, I give it all away to have you in my life. I live for you. I'm never looking back to what life used to be. I live for you. Everything I ever thought was mine, I give it all away to have you in my life. Yeah. Oh, I live for you. Yeah, I give it all away to have you in my life.
Welcome back. We're here with Rachel and her husband, Brendan. Welcome to our set, to our panel.
Thank you.
So how did you guys get together?
Do you want to tell it?
Why don't you?
I wonder if it would be the same. Like we should like go in like a room and I'll tell it. And then
Yeah.
Yeah.
Compare stories.
Let's not do that.
We actually we met through a friend of his. So I introduced my best friend to a guy that I had known for a few years, and they totally hit it off and started dating. And then Brendan came to make his record in Nashville and was staying with my best friend's then boyfriend.
Okay.
And it ended up being the four of us like a couple times hanging out, and I was like,
It did.
we should date.
So how long were you guys together before you got married?
We actually started when we were dating. I immediately moved to LA, and he went to a Young Life camp to play music, and we ended up writing letters for 3 months. So that was kind of the way that
That's sweet.
I always have to add that into the
Notebook-esque.
story. Yes.
I had
kinda
just seen the
awesome.
Notebook and was inspired, and so I thought,
Right.
So were you doing Christian music too?
yeah, well, yeah, I came out to Nashville.
Well, talking about Christian music, we're talking about worship and praise on this show and what that really means and looks like as Christians in our lives. So what do you guys think worship means? And more specifically, praise through music and
Was there a difference between
worshiping.
praise and worship?
I mean, what do you think?
I don't know. I think it just depends on the person's like interpretation. I feel like it's really different, but I think like going to praise and going to worship, it's all about like connecting with God, and it's bringing Him glory through through your worship and through that connection. And I think a lot of times people like make it about ourselves. You know what I mean? Like we make the connection about how we feel and our emotions, but it's really about just like lifting Him up in that moment.
Yeah.
Worship is like, some people say worship is, I can worship through nature, I can worship through reading something or just being in solitude or silence, and then praise is just like an outward expression of that. So usually when we're in a service, in our service and we're worshiping and our hands are lifted, that's kind of like praise. You know, I think that's where the difference comes.
Well,
Do you think?
I think praise and worship, they have kind of gotten, because you were like, is there a difference? You know, I think there has been kind of they've been coupled into the same thing.
Yeah, like kind of
But
conforming
I
to each
think the way I've always interpreted is praise is is one way you can worship. You know, whereas worship you could feed the homeless
Yeah.
and
That's
service
worshiping.
or reverence or
Yeah.
professing God. You know,
Yeah.
that's a form of worship. Praise being like a big
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
But like the Christian community has made praise like the biggest.
Yeah,
You know,
then
and
what
it's
about
like
it
it's
being authentic too. Like
Yeah.
some people, like this is just how we do it, and so when you go in there, and
Yeah.
are you really? Is that really your outward expression of worship, or are you just doing it because everybody's doing it?
Yeah.
You
Well, and I
know?
think it's like worship is a constant thing. We could be worshiping right now. You know,
Yeah.
I feel like that's where our hearts should be, and you know, as humans, we're guilty of not always being, you know, in that mindset and in that mind frame. But I feel like we worship God through our work, through our you know, our everyday conversations, and then
It's a
I think-
lifestyle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
I
Do you think people are judgmental of other people's like worship, like in churches and stuff? You
Yeah,
know,
totally.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
like oh, they're not worshiping right, or they're not at all. So
Yeah.
I've been to some churches where they do like painting on stage and
Yeah.
stuff like
Yeah.
that. I remember I was drawing in church one time, and one of like the elders behind me tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Stop doing that." And I was like,
What were you drawing to
What were
like
you
worship?
drawing?
I was drawing like a tree with like a scripture verse next to it and all this kind of stuff. And he was like, "Stop drawing! You're distracting everyone." And I was like,
you messed up your worship.
"I know. I'm not in the zone now."
How dare you.
How about like
How
worship
dare you.
when they're doing the sermon, like praise during the sermon?
Yeah.
Like
What is it supposed to look like? Because
Yeah.
it looks different to like any type of denomination. Like
Yes.
I used to go to a Methodist church, and so their worship was like standing there, and it was very inward.
Right.
So do you feel like there's like a certain type of?
Didn't they do hand motions?
Yeah, actually, yeah. The youth group, like they would always do hand motions.
Yeah.
And normally it's
Like
like,
what? Show
just
us.
elementary, but then it would go to like the high school and then the college age students. Everyone would be doing like these hand motions during worship.
Wow.
But
But
was everybody doing the same one? Was it a consistent thing?
It
Or,
was-
like,
yeah, it was really
so everybody
consistent.
knew what they
Was
were
it
doing.
like almost like sign language or like?
I think so. I don't know.
It might have been sign language. You might be talking
These
about-
things with their hands.
That might be sign language.
But do you think there's like a certain type or a certain way that we can worship? Is it very exact, or is it just like whatever's coming from your
I
heart?
think God, He created us so individually and so uniquely, you know, and we're so different.
Right.
You know, we're no two are the same, and I think why would the form of praise and worship look the same?
Yeah.
You know, there's a home for everybody.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
You know, it's like for one place it could be very comfortable, and that might make someone else very uncomfortable, and a tough place to
Do
worship
you
and
think
praise.
God commands us though in the Bible sometimes? Like he says, like lifted hands, like lift your hands, and in different things about
He
praise.
does,
Like I
yeah.
was reading about it, and we were talking about it. That there's certain things that he calls us. He's not demanding us to do, but he kind of gives us a layout.
He gives a layout in the Psalms, especially.
things to
He's
do.
saying like, you know, use the lyre or whatever instrument that is, use the harp, use all these instruments, lift your voice and praise. It's actually a commandment. Like we're created to praise, we're created to worship.
We need more lyre in
We
worship.
need the
Yes.
where's the
Where's the lyre?
Where did the lyre
No
go?
more cowbell. Just
Where's-
Sorry, we're not in God's will because we don't have the.
We're not
I
worshiping.
don't even know
Thank
what
you
the
for the
lyre is.
reminder. We need more
I need the
lyre.
harp.
That's hilarious.
Harp.
Candace, you were saying earlier when we were talking about it, just about Paul and
Silas, yeah.
What were you were saying
Well,
something about that?
yeah, I was saying Paul and Silas, when they were in the prison, they worshipped. And, you know, a lot of times we use the excuse, you know, I don't feel like it, or I'm
Right.
depressed, or I'm sad and I can't worship. But if you think of the place that they were in prison for doing what God had called them to do. And as soon as they started praising and worshiping, then God actually released them from the jail.
Yeah.
And so I believe that praise and worship actually releases the power of God, and it sends your enemies running. And so there's so much power in it. And I think a lot of times we forget that.
Yeah, about the enemies running thing. I was in a service with my our college pastor was speaking about worship and relentlessly going after Christ and how we need to, you know, it was
Yeah.
really geared toward worship. The last thing he spoke about, and he was saying like he was speaking of the different things in the Bible, how it says to worship God, and not just saying that was one thing, but ways to do it. And then he was saying how clapping, like how important, like sometimes we do it just like as a ritual, like clap for this and clapping during thing, but literally as you're clapping in praise for God and you're consciously thinking about that, you are literally like clapping, and the demons are like trembling
Just
because you're
speaking
in
the name
you are
almost
literally
into
like
Yeah.
shaking hell because you're clapping in the name of God.
Yeah.
Like it was really cool how how he said that, and then everything, and then we had this big worship service, and everything was so deliberate, what we were doing.
That's awesome.
And it was really cool. Like,
That's
it was a really
good.
cool
Well, this is really good, guys. We're going to continue talking about this right when we come back.
How can I find you? Are you hiding or am I? Should I go or should I wait for a sign? I'm following your voice, walking through a desert night, and I see a silent storm in the sky. And I stand in my emotion and let it be my own. 'Cause I know I'm not forsaken and I'll never be alone. 'Cause when I fall, I know where I'll be landing. And when I fall, you will still be standing. Somewhere in this silence, I can hear your broken voice, like a radio station fading out of range. And somewhere in the crowd, from the corner of my eye, I thought that I could feel you walking by. And when I get this feeling like I am not so strong, I still can feel you with me. Yeah, you've been there all along. And when I fall, I know where I'll be landing. And when I fall,
back here again. We have Rachel and her husband Brendan. We're talking about this whole topic of praise and worship, and something I just want to ask you two is what's it like for you to try and live out worship, being in like LA or even being in the music industry?
Yeah, I think that's where I feel like I can get creative with what worship means and with how I'm living my life. And I think a lot of when you said LA, a lot of what happens kind of out in these cities where it's just like work and go and it's always like people that are just reacting off of each other and off of the world and what Hollywood's saying and what the career world is saying and stuff. And I think that people that are following Jesus really stand out among that when you meet them, because you can tell like they're not living their life in reaction to what the world is doing. They have a different prize in mind, and they have heaven on their mind. They have Jesus on their mind, and I think that's a huge way to worship and even praise. I think that's a physical, outward like telling of what you stand for and what you believe. And I found that really when I was living there.
Yeah.
You guys feel like you've had like people see that difference in you, and anyone ever come up to you and just notice this difference in how you guys are, and like especially that reaction thing you're talking about,
right,
how it doesn't like really faze you sometimes.
Right.
Yeah, sometimes I think there's a unique challenge for being up front, because you're really trying to sort of lead them into worship.
Right, yeah.
Versus leading the worship and having them sort of sing along with you and almost can end up praising you.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, like as a worship, like you led worship, how, from that standpoint, what's your experience been with that?
It's challenging, because you really walk this very fine line. Because also you're human and you're up front and you're seeing this crowd's reaction and you're feeding into, there's the human thing in you wants to feed into it. And accept the praise and be like, man, I'm awesome.
Yeah.
I have the leer going and I'm not. But you do, there is sort of a moment of decision there when you can, like any pastor or like anybody, even up front, would have to deal with, of how do I step to the side?
And how do you do
and
that?
Really allow,
How do you like step
process.
aside and you allow God to be glorified and not yourself? Because it is hard.
It is, and I think that is, that they would see an outward expression for something that's inward happening in me.
Right,
From up front. They'd be able to go, okay, this guy's not, because it's very transparent. You can tell.
Yeah.
You can see the people.
It's like in your prayer and in your anointed,
Absolutely.
God honors that.
And it's in your own spirit and your own heart when you're up front to go, okay, this is not about me. And then you can see it translate out there. That they're no longer praising you, that they are just led into a place of authentic worship. And it's then that ultimately is so much more rewarding for us. That again, the glory isn't.
You're able to bring them, help them connect with God.
And it is a gift. Like, it's a gift to be able to walk that line, because sometimes like I wonder if I have it or I don't have it, because I think sometimes because I didn't really grow up in Christian music. I didn't really grow up. I didn't lead worship in my church and stuff. I just kind of was, just kind of in the background. And sometimes it's hard to, when you're putting on shows with lights and, cameras, and you wrote the songs and, this whole thing, there's like, you're playing a different role than if you were in church and your role is to lead somebody. And that's why, like, Carrie Job and Chris Tomlin and like all those guys are just that is that's a calling, to be able to be in that position.
I love something you said though about like it not being a reaction, like the world takes it, because even in like the praise and worship set, I feel like a lot of people make worship a reaction, but I feel like it's actually when we're praising, we're actually calling the presence of God. And so his presence comes when we're praising him with genuine hearts. So how do you guys feel, like what is the importance of praise and worship? Do you feel like the church has lost that?
Well, I think I can tell you what's not important. I think it's so easy. I think it was like the first thing you said was that so quickly as humans, we just make that thing about us. And we walk in going like, man, I'm feeling so low this week, and I need to go to a worship. You can almost go in with almost a good intention, but it's still sort of being about you.
Yeah.
And about you needing
That's
to
true.
get pulled out of this thing through this music, when you can miss the whole thing of
Yeah.
that. You know, and so I think that there's a danger because I can know that those things are unimportant because you can walk in and know that.
Dealing with doing youth ministry. I know we've done youth camps, and something that was also a big focus for me in dealing with the kids was that they would go to worship services, and they would get such an emotional high out of it because of like the entertainment. And so something that I really have to help them to focus on, is whenever you're out of the sanctuary, your life is still supposed to be glorifying and worshiping. So like I try to encourage them, what is your form of worship? What is your way that you really get alone with God? And it's saying, God, this is me glorifying you, like I love you with everything that I am.
That's true because like there'll be weeks like where I get really hectic, really busy, and I really haven't spent the amount of time with God that I spent last week, and then my worship is totally different. It's like totally different. It's not as connected with God as it was before because it's more of what can I get from you, God, now that I've been missing this whole week? Because do you ever notice that? Sometimes you just get so busy and you realize that your connection with God just in the regular day life is missing, and when you get to the spiritual high, like he's saying, it's just not there, and you're like grabbing at whatever you can get, and it's just, why am I not getting what I usually get?
And so many times we focus on that spiritual high in worship. It's like I need this, and we make it about ourselves, and we make it like this is about me, but really it's just about glorifying God. And going back to the importance of praise and worship, it's important because God delights in the praises of his people. It's not about us, and we do get a lot out of it, but it's about glorifying him and praising him and lifting him up because he loves our worship.
So do you think like worship with like all the lights that give you like this emotional rush, do you think that's it's good to do that, or do you think that it's more like we should probably like try to make it simple so that it's all out of our hearts?
I like simple sometimes. I don't know. Like we've been doing acoustic sets sometimes at church, and I love that. Like it's simple, and you're not distracted. It's just you and God.
Yeah,
you know
our
what I mean?
Our church at home is very. It almost walks the line of awkward, but we love that. It almost walks the line of like that transition was horrible, but good because that's real. That's real worship, and it's simple and it's raw and it's but at the same time, I when I was in LA, I went to this church called the Dream Center, and they are
I love that,
very much they're
goodness.
but the cool thing is when you really draw back and you forget all of our opinions and all that kind of stuff, you look at the sound guy and you look at the lighting guy, they're worshiping. And they're worshiping through their gift of putting on lights, putting on, making things sound good.
And sometimes that's the way you have to reach people. Like the Dream Center, they are going out and reaching people. In our youth ministry, we're going out and reaching kids in inner city and trying to bring them in, and that appeals to them. So, you're trying to connect with them, give them a connection. And it works, but it's to bring them to God.
Exactly.
I think it's, you talk about it being about you, that's an easy way to lose yourself in worship. Is those lights and that huge sound, which is a great thing. Because you can walk in and you go, man, this isn't about me. Because I can't hear my voice. I can't hear, I can't see myself in the dark. You can't see anyone else.
I like that.
So you're lost in worship. And so sometimes when we are in our little awkward church, I'm like, okay, and I can hear her. She's off here.
Honestly incredible, and we're so glad we got to talk to you about this topic. And thank you for being here, and thank you guys for watching.